There's a kind of shame that only exists when you're in the middle of hiding dishes because someone texted they're 2 minutes away. Not cleaning. Hiding. Shoved in the oven. Under the sink. Anywhere they won't look. And then they walk in and say, "Your place is so nice." And you smile. And say thank you. And mentally calculate how long until they leave so you can move the dishes back. But then there's this other kind of person. Their home always looks like this. Not clean for you. Not staged. Just Tuesday. Just how they live. And some part of you, the part that just put dishes in the oven, has always wondered, what is actually different about them? The answer has nothing to do with cleaning. Most people land on discipline. They wake up earlier. They care more. They have something you haven't managed to find yet. Some internal setting that was just turned on in them and never in you. But here's the thing about discipline. Discipline implies a fight. Willpower means something is being resisted. And for the people who genuinely, consistently live in order, there is no fight. No reminders. No motivation. No Sunday reset routine they found on YouTube. The space just stays. The way your phone gets charged every night without you planning it. The way you brush your teeth without a single conversation with yourself about whether to do it. It stopped being a habit a long time ago. It became identity. And that gap between habit and identity is small enough that most people never notice it. But it is the entire difference between a system that lasts and one that collapses by the third week of January. Psychologists use the term locus of control to describe something very specific. Not whether you agree that your actions shape your life, whether you feel it in your body, below thought. People who sit high on that scale, when they put something back where it belongs, something registers. Not a chore completing, something closer to evidence. Quiet, wordless evidence that they have a hand in how things go. That what they do today has a relationship with tomorrow. Most of us agree with that idea when someone says it out loud. These people don't agree with it. They just live it. Every single day. Without knowing that's what they're doing. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. That feeling doesn't develop in adulthood. It gets built much earlier. Usually in homes that had routine. Predictability. Homes where when you made a mess, it got addressed. Where the environment responded to the people in it. But grow up somewhere different. Picture a home where you never quite knew what version of the evening was coming. Where the rules shifted. Where chaos wasn't a bad day, it was just Tuesday. Where the environment felt like something that happened to you, rather than something you could shape. Your brain makes a very rational decision in that house. It stops trying. Researchers call it learned helplessness. The quiet, deeply embedded belief that effort doesn't really change outcomes. That you can push, but the world will do what it was going to do anyway. That belief does not stay in childhood. It follows you into your apartment, into the pile of clothes on the chair that's been there so long it stopped being a pile and started being furniture, into the sink that somehow always has just enough dishes in it to feel like you're behind. You're not lazy. You are running a program that was written a long time ago in a house you no longer live in. Now, there's a third type, and this is the one nobody names out loud. The person who cleans when something is wrong. You know this feeling. Something falls apart. A conversation that went sideways, a message you didn't expect, a day that started fine and ended somewhere much darker. And suddenly, at 11 p.m., you are reorganizing the pantry. Wiping counters that weren't dirty. Folding clothes with a precision that has absolutely nothing to do with clothes. It feels like progress. It isn't. A study published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that people who described their homes as cluttered or chaotic showed elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, throughout the entire day. The state of the space was showing up in the bloodstream. So when you spiral into cleaning during emotional pain, here is what is actually happening. The brain is overwhelmed by something it cannot solve tonight. The relationship, the decision, the thing that was said, none of that gets resolved in the next hour. But the counter? The counter gets resolved in 20 minutes. And the brain desperately needs one signal of completion that it cannot locate anywhere near the actual source of pain. Psychologists call it displacement activity, one of the more functional defense mechanisms in a dark sort of way. At least the bathroom ends up spotless. But here's the part that stays with you. The people who only ever clean from that place, they never actually feel clean afterward. You spend 2 hours making everything perfect. You stand in the middle of the immaculate room, and for maybe 40 minutes, the weight lifts. Then it comes back, exactly as heavy as before, because the cortisol was never caused by the mess. The mess was just where it landed. Here's what most people miss entirely. Your home is one of the most honest things about you. Not the version you tidy before people arrive. Not the photos. Not the Sunday morning when you're feeling motivated and the light is coming through the window just right. The version that exists on a Wednesday evening. Long day. No guests coming. Tired in a way that has nothing to do with sleep. Slightly defeated in a way you couldn't fully explain. What does that space look like? Because that space is your actual relationship with yourself. The way you treat your physical environment mirrors, with uncomfortable consistency, how you treat your internal one. Either with a baseline of care that has become so automatic you don't notice it, or with a low-grade tolerance for disorder you've lived with so long you stopped seeing it. That is not a moral judgment, but it is information. And this is the thing every organizing book, every decluttering video, every tidy your space, change your life approach refuses to say directly. You can implement any system you want. Buy the bins. Label everything. Color code the shelf. Follow the method exactly. And within a month, sometimes less, it will look exactly the way it did before. Because the system was never the problem. The problem is who you believe yourself to be. You are not failing the method. You are succeeding completely and consistently at being exactly who you think you are. Which means no bin, no label, no Sunday reset will change anything. Only one thing does. Deciding, quietly, without an announcement, that you are someone who lives differently now. Not better, not more disciplined, just differently. Identity doesn't change from information. It changes from doing something small, consistently, until one day it stops feeling like doing and starts feeling like being. So here is what I want to leave you with. If you live with mess and you are quietly exhausted by it, not ashamed, not embarrassed, just tired of it in a way that sits low and heavy, that tiredness is worth listening to. It has been trying to tell you something for a while. If you're the person whose counter is always clear and some part of you has always felt slightly rigid about it, slightly unable to just let it go, that is worth sitting with too. Because sometimes the need for order out there is covering something that still feels uncontrollable in here. And if somewhere in this video you thought of the chair in your room, the one that has been collecting things since around the time something happened that you still haven't fully dealt with, your home noticed before you did. It almost always does. The space around you right now is not random. It is a record of what you have been carrying, of what you have been avoiding, of what you have quietly decided over and over that you are worth. That is not a verdict. It is just where you are starting from. The clean house was never really the point. The point was always whether you felt safe enough to come home to yourself. If something in this video stayed with you longer than you expected, subscribe. There's more like this coming. And if someone came to mind while you were watching, the person whose home tells a story they haven't said out loud yet, maybe send it to them. Sometimes a video says the thing that has been waiting to be said.